with Ricardo Salvetti.
Yeah, nice guy. We're live now. Hello.
Welcome, everyone.
This is testing days, and for today's show, we will be talking about this magical tool called conjure-up that will let you make really complex deployments in no time. We have here with us one of the developers of conjure-up, but as usual, let's start with a round of introductions. How are you, Kyle?
Hey, I'm Kyle Fazzari. I'm on the Snapcraft team, and most of my work revolves around, it's that and the general Snap developer experience. Joseph, you want to go next?
Sure. I'm Joe Talbot. I'm also on the Snapcraft team, and I do basically what Kyle said as well.
Zygmunt.
Hey, I'm Zygmunt Pernitsky. I hate to pronounce my name in English. And I'm working on Snapd, the part that consumes the great stuff coming out of Snapcraft. And I'm super glad to be here. Adam.
Adam Stokes. I'm one of the lead developers on conjure-up. Yeah. That's all I got.
Conjure-up. What's with the names? Like conjure-up something.
Yeah,
I think that's the exact idea. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole magical thing.
I love the header on the website with the ants and the stars, and it fades into the content.
Yeah. Our design team know that they're taking the slide over soon.
So thanks for joining us. I don't remember if I presented myself. I'm Leo Arias. I'm QA engineer on Snapcraft, working on snaps, different parts of Ubuntu. And the idea of testing days is just to have a relaxed chat on Friday with a developer of a cool project that's in active development. So he can tell us where can we help, what are the cool new things that are happening in there, and try to involve the community a little more. So if you're watching this on ubuntuonair.com, there's a box under the video where you can ask your questions, and we will send them to Adam. Feel free to ask anything you want. And if you are watching this after on youtube.com, you can join us on rocket.ubuntu.com, and we're all hanging in there. So if you have questions for any of us, you will find us there too. But let's start. Can you tell us what conjure-up is, Adam?
Yeah. So conjure-up is a tool that sits on top of our main technology stack that encompasses Juju, Maz, LexD, and it's basically a gateway into getting from installing a big software stack to using it, basically. A lot of times people deal with things like Ansible and other config management tools, and it takes them a while to get this big software up and running before they can actually even do any real work. So what conjure-up does is it takes all that operational knowledge and with a few questions to answer and a nice hand-holding experience, we'll get that stack up and running and usable in a production or development environment. It's easily reproducible, so the deployments are real easy to do. You can basically hand off these deployments to your peers without really telling them anything and just having them run conjure-up, and they can get the same deployment experience in the same time as anybody else.
That's really cool. We have a question, but probably we can talk about that a little later. But quickly, can you tell us about conjure-up localization? Can people help translating what you're doing?
Yeah, internalization is something that we haven't done yet. So having people to help translate the code or the screens actually would be a huge help. Yeah, I mean, it's just something that we haven't done yet. We just need help doing it.
So do you need help to start making the code translatable?
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty fun, actually, because it doesn't require a lot of hacking experience or knowledge. Just changing the texts a little to use the translation library. So if people want to help, do you have an IRC channel, Rocket Chat, mailing list, or where can they find you?
Yeah, so we're on Rocket Chat and the conjure-up channel. We're also on IRC, on Freenode and Pound Juju. Those are probably the two quickest ways to get help, live help. And then, of course, there's our GitHub project where you can file issues. And we're pretty responsive. It's me and two other guys. So you usually get a response within, I don't know, an hour at the latest.
Great. And we have here another question that's going to be hard. She's asking for our handles on IRC, Google+. Can we make another round?
I think we could do that after, like in the video on YouTube. We can then add that in the description so people can actually use those. I guess it's going to be easier than figuring out what we just said.
Well, to be clear, the question was, can we have the Twitter handles on Google Plus names of the conjure-up team? No, we don't actually care about us. They care about Adam.
Okay.
Yeah,
I thought you wanted to talk to me.
I'm in IRC, so I can just tell them.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
So I have a question because I'm super inexperienced with all this cloud technology. So tell me, like, what can I deploy with conjure-up, and what do I need to, like, what kind of hardware do I need to have locally to be able to use it?
So if you're just a developer and you want to play with the technology and stuff like that, we recommend having a system that has at least 16 gig of RAM, a good size SSD drive, like maybe 200 gigs. The cores, 2 cores, don't really matter that much for that. So like, and some of the spells, well, we call them spells in conjure-up. So I can, let me just share out my screen.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I don't know, while he's doing that, I don't know that we've mentioned this, but conjure-up does have a website. It's conjure-up.io.
Can you guys see that?
Yep.
Yes, we can. Excellent.
So this is actually on an Intel NUC. It's got like 16 gigs of RAM, and I think it's got a 250 gig SSD drive. And these are all the stacks, these spells that you can deploy. Our main ones are the Kubernetes and OpenStack. So basically, you can get a full production-ready distribution of Kubernetes, the canonical distribution. It takes about 20 minutes to deploy. The type of hardware, you can do it on localhost. You can do it on, which is LXD, on a single system. You can do it on all the available public clouds, AWS, GCE, Azure. And it goes for any of these spells here. All of these work across all public clouds. They work across MAS, Metal as a Service. They work on your local machine, and it's all the same experience. So you do it one way, nothing changes on how you deploy in any other cloud. So it makes it really nice as far as deployments go. If you want, I can go through kind of a little demo now.
That would be really nice.
Yeah, if you're ready for that, that would be great.
Yeah.
So just if I can one quick question. So I understand, like, I run this and then I can say, like, deploy Apache on this machine, or can I, like, deploy Apache in my MAS? I mean, is it something like I point it at the hardware, or is it running exactly on where it started?
So it utilizes Juju underneath, and Juju is a modeling client server architecture where you have a node that has the Juju agent, and then that agent gets replicated on all the machines that Juju knows about. And so, yes, if you want to just deploy Apache, you could simply do Juju deploy Apache, and it would do it out to the cloud or wherever. what conjure-up is it combines all that. So the canonical distribution of Kubernetes has a dashboard, so it needs Nginx. So Nginx will get deployed along with that. But you don't have to do anything. You just click enter, and then at the end, it's all magically up and running. So that's kind of that's the hand-holding experience that we give.
So just to clarify, with Juju, right, you actually have to add your nodes to the Juju cluster before you can start doing anything, right? Do you still have to do that in order to use conjure-up?
You do, but we have our local host deployment.
Okay, so that will be supported out of the box, but if you actually want to go to a cluster, it has to be bootstrapped with Juju first.
Yeah, well, they all need to be bootstrapped. It's just depending on if you want to do it on a public cloud, right, or if you want to do it on you have to have like a MAS with a bunch of bare metal servers if you want to do it on that. But the single system is just your system. It just boots a bunch of LXD containers and you're good to go.
Gotcha.
Before you start, I was talking with Kyle about your UI, and this is really pretty. This is a terminal, right? You're just making a terminal look.
Yeah. We opted for a console only application or UI.
The only way to guess it works everywhere, right? Truly everywhere.
Yeah, because we have a lot of people that will SSH into remote machines and things like that, and it just didn't make sense to have a web browser, a web page or anything that handled this type of stuff. So they just snap install it and run it wherever they are or wherever they want to SSH into. And it makes it real nice.
Yeah, I love the look and feel of this project. Everything is just pretty.
What are you using here? I mean, that doesn't look like curses.
It is curses, but it's Urwid on top of that Python project.
That does look nice.
Yeah, we use Urwid, and we use async IO with Python 3.5 for that type of benefit. And then I wrote a library called Ubuntu UI, and it basically incorporates all our brand colors, and the widgets are all unified and stuff like that. Awesome.
All right, well, let's get to this demo. I'm super curious.
Yeah, touch buttons.
They're tempting, aren't they?
Yeah. So I've got two. I can show the first one, and then we can talk because it takes about 2 minutes for all the applications to come up. So what I'm going to do here is I'm on an Intel NUC, like I said, 16 gig of RAM, 250 gig SSD drive. I think it's like 2 core, maybe 4 cores. And I want to deploy Kubernetes. And just to mention some of the features that conjure-up has. So conjure-up will allow you to deploy to any public cloud, whether it be AWS, Azure, Google, Cloud Sigma, some other ones that I'm missing. Or you can deploy it to a MAS, which is your Metal as a service, or to localhost. And conjure-up consists of a notion called controllers, and controllers is what basically holds your environment. And so there's a new technology that's come out called GG as a service, which you can see on ggcharms.com. And it's where it's a hosted controller, so it's basically always on. We can utilize that, or we can host our own controllers. Now, for this demo, just to keep it simple, I'm going to host my own. I'm going to pick localhost. And so this is going to deploy to my machine, all in LXD containers. The next screen is the actual applications that make up this Kubernetes spell. You have a RSA, etcd, flannel, Kubernetes master, worker, the load balancer, all the components you need for a production grade Kubernetes cluster. And if I needed to configure anything that are done through Charm, what we call Charm options, or options for the application itself, you can do that directly in the Kubernetes screen, or in the conjure-up screen. So if we needed to define, our CDR, or if we wanted to disable our dashboard add-ons like Grafana and things like that, we could do that there. Most people will just accept the defaults, so that's what I'm going to do. We're just going to deploy all 6. And this is where Juju does its, in the background, it's bootstrapping, and you can see it's adding its applications there. And so this is what takes about 10 minutes. So you'll I'll leave it on this screen, but I can answer questions and talk some more. But you'll see status start changing, and things get deployed, and things go into active as the applications become ready. And then once everything is settled down and the deployment's done, we'll take you to the real benefit of conjure-up, which is kind of a post-processing step. And I'll talk about that once that shows up.
I will keep your terminal selected because I am just following the screen. So happy that we can talk.
I have a quick question, but I just want to say I really admire the UI. I mean, the little blue icons, I don't quite see them. They look like the little, I'm not sure how to say this in English, the stuff with the sand in it.
They change color.
It's like we use Unicode characters for that stuff just to kind of.
That's really, really nice. So my question is this. So you mentioned spells. I recall Juju has charms.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
tell me about them.
Yeah, they're all kind of interconnected. So Juju has their charms, which is your application, which is your Kubernetes master or etcd. And then Juju has a concept called bundles, which is kind of your spec, your manifesto of what charms, what applications you want to deploy. And then spells sits on top of that, and that wraps all of that with what we call post-processing steps. And that's kind of the finale, that's the hand-holding part that gives you the ability to do different things with your deployment, so that you can automatically use it, and there's no more configuring, there's no more anything. You just have in this case, a deployed Kubernetes cluster up and ready to go, and you can do your Helm installs, whatever else you do with Kubernetes clusters, it's all there ready to go. And all you had to do is just hit a couple buttons.
What is that ECRSA for?
That's the certificate authority, I believe, for handling your signing your TLS connections and things like that.
I seem to remember OpenVPN using it as well.
And so how many machines are you using here for all the...
Yeah, so each one that you see is a single LXD container. So 3, 6, so 9 LXD containers. Which one is that one on? Yeah, so you can see it's just all LXD containers, all on a single machine.
Nice. I will try it. Sounds really fun.
So there's lots of spells that you can do. Like I just finished a Mac port, so if you're on a Mac OS, as soon as Homebrew merges in my PR, you'll be able to brew install conjure-up and do the same deployments. You just don't have localhost because there's no LXD server on Mac OS, but you can have access to all your public clouds. And vSphere is coming as well, so if you have vSphere, you can do that. But you can also deploy it on a Mac.
So after you get a deployment ready, is conjure-up still a part of your maintenance of that deployment? Do I use conjure-up to do some, I don't know, upgrade tasks or whatever I need to do, or grow something or add something? Yeah. I don't know? Or is it something I just use as a booster and then use something else?
For now, it's basically your entryway to getting something up and running as quickly as possible. And then it's our intention that we kind of guide you on to using Juju from there for actually managing your deployments and adding additional applications. However, we do have issues open, feature requests open for what we call a next deploy. So we want to be able to say conjure up, and you pick an existing deployment, and then you'll be able to add additional units or add additional applications. We haven't quite ironed out exactly what that's going to be, but yeah, basically what you're talking about, you'll be able to conjure up to an existing deployment and do things in kind of a handhold type way like you see here.
So I see that they changed to a blocked state for a while. That's waiting for the other.
Yeah. So it's kind of, I mean, you have all these things going at once. So some things come up before their counterparts are ready. So you'll see these different states happening. You just don't want an error state. The blocked one usually resolves itself. Normally a block state means that you have to do some type of user intervention, but here it's just a block state waiting for, the other etcds to come up.
Awesome. And I guess there are like a million ways to deploy a Kubernetes, right? So
yeah, this is just our way of doing it, what we feel production wise.
So this is like a recommended.
Yeah. So it's similar to, I don't know if you know AutoPilot, but AutoPilot is basically our reference implementation for OpenStack. So this is kind of our reference implementation for Kubernetes.
Can you deploy OpenStack with conjure-up?
Yeah, so conjure-up has the ability to do, you can do OpenStack with Nova KVM, which is basically a deployment where the compute nodes are done with KVM. We also have an OpenStack on Nova LXD. It's not seen here because this is my Mac OS screen, but on Linux, you can do OpenStack with Nova LXD, and that's a full single machine deployment using LXDs as the Nova compute instances. And that works completely out of the box. Like you don't have to do anything. You just click next, wait for it to finish. The steps walk you through importing your glance images. It walks you through importing your SSH keys. It sets up the proper networking for you to utilize on your own machine. So all the compute instances can get out to the internet. And it gives you the information you need to get to the dashboard, the Horizon dashboard.
So what's the relation between conjure-up and the other thing? Sorry, I forgot the name now.
Juju?
No, the one for OpenStack itself.
AutoPilot?
Yes, AutoPilot, exactly, thank you.
Yeah, so AutoPilot is OpenStack, and eventually we're going to have the ability to deploy that with conjure-up. So just think of it as we have, so here what you see is the canonical distribution of Kubernetes. That AutoPilot is basically the canonical distribution of OpenStack. So the other OpenStack options you see are kind of ones for developer, the one with OpenStack on Nova LXD. The other one is for production, but you have to do a lot of things yourself. Like it's not, like you have to set up a MAS and things like that. And the AutoPilot will connect to your existing MAS infrastructure and set all of it up, and it's a nice walkthrough experience. And it's done in the landscape portal, so you can click and choose your different storage backends and things like that.
I see. Okay, because I really like the UI here. It's so well, it's fantastic. Really.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's like for a console application. This is like I haven't seen anything equally pretty.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm going to see what happens when you shrink the window.
You shrink it?
Is there more niceness? Oh man.
That's it.
No, I meant like, how does it redraw itself when you actually give it?
You mean the responsiveness?
Yeah.
Well, we have
responsive 1970s technology.
Yeah, we actually have a warning in the code that says if your terminal is less than 132 by 43, then it probably won't look right. So we do. we had a hard stop at that. That's as low as we can go.
There's a limit, obviously. Quick question on the OpenStack thing. So what you mentioned networking. what do you use for that? Are you using just some of LXD's networking stuff, or do you use Open vSwitch or?
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, we use so the neutron charm handles all of the Open vSwitch and the GRE tunnels and stuff like that. What conjure-up does is it actually creates a second LXD bridge. So that way, that's what we bind to the access network for OpenStack for it to get out and do its thing. And then the management network is on the LXD bridge itself.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, for Linux anyway, and that's another reason why we can't do OpenStack on Nova LXD on Mac. We don't have the LXD networking bridge capabilities.
Sure, yeah.
I'm looking into Xhive. I think Docker does something similar where we can have like an Ubuntu guest, and I can kind of automate that, but that's down the road.
We got a question on RC.
Sure.
Can you deploy Discourse on conjure-up like a Juju charm? And there's a reference to jujucharms.com, someone's user ID and Discourse later.
Yeah, so you would just basically make a spell, which would consist of your bundle, which would consist of Discourse. And I guess you would need Postgres or whatever else for that. So your bundle would basically list Discourse and your database. And then the spell would just include that bundle. And yeah, you can pretty much do whatever you need to do. Think of it like if you have a bundle with all your applications, the spell itself just encapsulates that bundle and provides some extra post-processing steps to kind of ease the burden of having to set up a bunch of config options and things like that. Like the steps have kind of a best guess effort in having something set up so that you can use it immediately. Like for example, Ghost. We have a Ghost spell in here. It has a step at the end and basically says, what do you want to set your URL to? You just type that in and hit next, and that's all set up and ready to go. So you don't have to go into the code or anything like that to update that config option.
What are we waiting for here? Do we need all the nodes to be active?
I thought it was just the workers. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're waiting for the system pods to start. It shouldn't take much longer. But yeah, so we like to make sure that the entire deployment has settled down and is in a sense of a ready state before we do any work against it, so that there's no hooks that get fired after the fact and remove whatever options you set.
Right, and this part is in Juju, right? Telling you when something is ready, or
yeah. So everything you see here, we're querying the Juju API, and then there's a tool that a coworker wrote to verify that a deployment has settled down that we use internally on conjure-up as well.
Can you give us an idea of what's involved in writing a spell?
Sure. So this is basically what a spell is. The spell has a metadata file. And that metadata file gives it a name, and it points to the actual bundle on Juju Charms. So if you have a bundle on jujucharms.com, you could point to that, and that way you don't have to keep updating your spell. You just update the bundle in the charm store, and it'll automatically pick it up. The kind of purpose of conjure-up are these steps here. So you can see a deploy done is a process that we run. You can see Juju wait. We basically wait. This is what you're seeing right now. This is the deploy done. We're just waiting for our applications to start. So that's one of the phases that you can account for. And then we do a pre-deploy. especially for LXD, because we have to set some profile changes on LXD, like have enable nesting and enable some access to certain file systems on the host system. And so this is where the pre-deploy would come in. And so you could do things like edit the LXD profile and make changes and things like that. And so once you get to the steps area, still on, these steps here, step 1 and step 2, these are what you would present to a user if you wanted them to do anything. So, for example, this downloads a kubectl client to your host system. So what that means is, on a Mac, we don't provide binaries in the deployment itself, so we just download it from the Google APIs. And then on Linux, we started packaging all of our kubectl and things like that into snaps. So we use snaps here to download that to our host machine. And then you can see down at the bottom where it makes a kubectl. We have a wrapper around that so we can set up a custom config here, where we just download a config from the Kubernetes master and put it in our host system. The next one is just a cluster info, and all it really does is it runs kubectl, get nodes or get all namespaces, and this exposed result is what you see in the in conjure-up. All right, so these are the steps I just showed you. For here, we have to download our kubectl. It doesn't need. Normally it would ask me for a sudo password, but I have it cached in my and whatever it uses to cache it. So that's run. So now you can see that step basically did a snap install and it downloaded kubectl. So this is on my host system. All right, now I'm going to just run this last step to give me a little bit of information, and you get that. Okay, sorry. That's what I get for using a master.
Yeah, in development, yeah.
Yeah.
That's all right. This is testing days. That's what it's about.
Okay. So yeah, this needs to do anything. We just added in there, but basically you would see the results page that would tell you, you know, what your what you could call to see, look at your cluster. So the steps so that second step basically did this, and it would tell you where your master is and your DNS and your dashboard and Grafana and things like that. So this is what conjure-up does. It handles the entire deployment stack, and at the end it gives you user-friendly steps that you can run to have, for example, to download kubectl and to download the correct config for that cluster, and to make use of it, you know. And you can already make use of Kubernetes now. This is a production. If LXD was a production environment, this would be a production deployment that you can release to the world and put your applications on and things like that. And that is the demo.
We've got one quick question here. conjureup wants to know: is there? Are you working on, or have you? We kind of talked about this a little bit, but are you working on something other than the Curses interface? Something that he specifically wants to know if it works with GNOME.
No, we've only been concentrating on the Curses interface. And when you say GNOME, do you mean like a GTK app or?
That's what I'm assuming. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have any plans to do a GTK app or anything like that. The idea, it sounds cool. Like, you know, I've always thought having a cross-platform, Electron app like Atom editor is. That way you could do it on, you can run it on Mac. But yeah, CLI for life is how we roll here.
Yeah, I like it that way. Thanks a lot. And it was a Kubernetes in like what, 15 minutes, 20 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the documentation for deploying Kubernetes. I don't think there's anywhere else that you could get a production grade deployment like that in under an hour.
So after this is deployed, what can you do with it? Like, can you show us what's the next step? I've never used Kubernetes, so if this is like a question, feel free to shout at me.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have anything to show you like what you could do with a Kubernetes cluster. If you jump onto #Juju on Freenode, all the container guys are in that channel, and they could walk you through whatever. I mean, really, you can install Helm and point Helm to your cluster, and it sets up the tiller and everything, and you could install your charts that way and deploy, WordPress or whatever you want to on the cluster.
We need to invite the guys who are working on the Kubernetes charm to continue the demo. That's a great idea for our next episode.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Are you working on some other complex deployment other than OpenStack and Kubernetes?
Those are the main ones that we are concentrating on, but our focus is also on big data and storage. I don't know if you saw that we have quite a few spells for big data, like Hadoop clusters and things like that. So basically, yeah, the 4 categories are storage, big data, Kubernetes, and OpenStack are the ones we like to concentrate on. But conjure-up works for anything that has a bundle. You can put it together and distribute it however you want. Conjure-up supports deploying spells from GitHub, Bitbucket, web server, things like that. So
great. So now back to the spirit of testing days. conjure-up is packaged as a snap. So if you install sudo snap install conjure-up --h, will you get like what you were working on last day?
Yeah, don't forget --classic, guys. Yeah.
Yeah, you would get pretty much what I showed you, just without the traceback, I believe.
Cool. So I know you were working with Sergio on making that package, and it has been quite an adventure for some reasons, for some Python reasons. Can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah. So basically, the way the snap for conjure-up works is we use a pure Python setup. Like, we don't, because I think there was some weird things happening with environment variables and paths and stuff like that were being set that were kind of, like, I know I was running into an issue where encodings, I was getting like an encodings traceback error, and I couldn't figure out why. But
I can tell you why, but it's terrible. But I can tell you later.
Yeah, so basically, I was hitting a bunch of issues like that. And then I don't remember when, but Sergio basically said he made the Python plugin like a pure Python part, I believe, and left the control up to the user. So now I set all my paths and stuff like that myself, and it's been a whole lot better experience packaging wise.
Okay, I'm sharing my screen now. Can you see it?
Yeah.
So let's see how it goes, because my connection has been stable so far, but that just means that it will break soon. So let me try to make some testing here. In a past session, we invited Stefan Graber from the Lexi team, and he showed us a lot of cool things to do with Lexi. And one of the things we can do is actually test conjure-up --, well, at least build the snap. I'm not sure if we can run it, but we will see. So there are many things happening here. Like, we have active development on Lexi, we have active development on Snapcraft, and we have active development on conjure-up, and we can test all of them at the same time. So just you should go back to that video from Stefan and look at all the cool things that he explained you could do with Lexi. And in his blog, you will see some nice documentation. But basically, the idea is just to install the LexD snap and then launch different distributions, different applications, and you will see how fast it was. My connection is terrible, and I did it once a couple of minutes ago, and now the second time it was like magic. It was immediate. So now I can do, let's see, exec. This is the name of the machine, which is a randomly chosen name, batch, and I'm now on this Xenial machine. Like my real host is Zesty, but I want to test Snapcraft and conjure-up on Xenial. So we can do plenty of things here. Are you still listening to me? Or am I
Yeah, we still got you.
Yeah, it all works.
Okay. Yeah. Tell me some encouraging words once in a while, so I know I'm not talking to myself. So I'm here in a Zesty Lexi container, and I can install here in a Zesty host on a Xenial Lexi container. Yes, it becomes complicated. So I don't need sudo because I'm root. I can do apt install Snapcraft. And yes, update to update the patch.
Yeah.
Okay, this is going to take some time because I haven't configured my Lexi machine with my apt catch. So that sounds like an interesting testing article to write. But we will have to wait a little. So maybe I
have
will
a
back to you.
super naive question because so the question is this: is this on a machine that is like a portable that uses suspend and resume? I've been playing with some of those things before, and I recall that like suspend and resume was okay, but at that time my machine kept dying, so I was restarting it, and after restarting it, all of the containers would like not really start up correctly, and they would be broken in some way. I didn't really understand how. Is that like something that is long fixed, and can I actually install this on a portable and expect to use it normally? Or is this something more suited for a server that stays on always?
Are you talking about LXD in general? Yeah. In my experience, if you have them started and you reboot the host, LXD remembers that they were started and it fires them back up for you. Even ephemeral ones, if you launch with -e, it'll create a container that once shut down will be deleted. And if you leave it running and reboot the host, it will remember that was running and bring them back up as well. So it is quite nice.
Wow, I need to try it again then. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Try deploying.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Leo.
You just try deploying your own Kubernetes, 15 minutes, then crash your machine on purpose, and then go back and see how it went.
We did have a quick question while we're waiting for this to finish here. For Adam, we know with snaps when you update, you have the ability to roll back, etc. Do spells have a similar ability at all?
So spells themselves don't, but in the metadata file, if you point to a version bundle, then your applications are versioned, and it doesn't matter if conjure-up gets upgraded or not because it's just going to use whatever. But yeah, spells themselves, we don't version. I mean, we have a version and we could potentially version it, but it's just not available right now.
I have an obligatory question. So obviously this is a snap, which is, I'm super happy that to see this. But are any of the parts that this then later deploys to set up a whole Kubernetes cluster also using snaps inside of them?
So the containers team with Kubernetes, they're converting all of their resources over to snaps. So kubectl was one of them, and we use that today. We snap install kubectl on the host system. So yeah, I think that's the way forward, is to utilize snaps and deploy. Usually we would just embed the resource into the charm itself and then download it that way. But now it just seems like it's a better idea to just use snap for that.
How's it going there, Leo?
Yeah, a little information for you guys. I mean, I think last I looked, we're at 20,000 downloads for conjure-up, snap-wise.
Wow, that's nice. I have a question about channels. So snaps have those channels which allow you to, install a stable version on one machine, but track like a daily development or a beta version elsewhere. So are you actually using those channels to ship various levels of stability of conjure-up?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Edge and to some extent Beta are kind of the latest and greatest, and then we use Candidate and Stable for our staging and release to stable that way. We will eventually use Tracks at some point, but right now we just don't have a need for it. Yeah,
we haven't talked about Tracks much on this show either. One more quick question for you, Adam. conjureup wants to know when you were last on Ubuntu on Air.
I don't think I've ever been on Ubuntu on Air.
Well, that was an easy answer.
Feel free now to join us whenever you want. Can you see my screen? I think it is ready.
Yep.
So you will see that.
Well, yep, go ahead.
Okay. You will see that I installed Snapcraft and I get 227.1. Then I modified.
Hey, can you hide that Hangouts is sharing your screen thing?
Yes, I didn't know you could see that. Okay, so I added this line on my sources. So I now have CNL proposed. I did another apt update. I run apt install Snapcraft, and now I have Snapcraft 228, which is the current one, the one we are testing. We want to release it on Monday. So if you have some spare time, it would be really useful if you give this a try on my blog, elopio.net, and linked on the Ubuntu Testing Days pages. There's more information about how to test the Snapcraft in proposed. So what we can do here is try to build conjure-up with the latest Snapcraft, which is run Snapcraft. This is pretty interesting because it's inside Alexi, building a classic snap for conjure-up that then will run on this Lexi. But I'm not sure if, let me try to stop sharing. So if I wait for this to finish building, will I be able to run conjure-up on my Lexi container here? Like, could I deploy a Kubernetes inside my container?
Stefan has a blog post on doing just that, running conjure-up inside a LexD container. There are some profile things that you have to update on that. Yeah, so you can, it does work. You just have to do a little bit of tweaking on your parent container.
Well, and we talked about that last week with Stefan too. Basically what you're saying is as long as nested containers work, you should be good.
Yeah, I think he allowed access to one of the dev devices.
Okay.
I'll have to go back and look, but yeah, basically you're just enabling nesting and privileged, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, we talked. So yeah, anyone who wants to do that, just check out the video from last week, and go to Stefan's blog, etc.
Yeah, and this will take quite some more time. building.
Yeah, we build Python from source. We build, we embed Juju so that we can kind of control what versions that we want. So that makes, what's really nice about Snap is that you can actually control the versions that you need and put it all together in a single distribution package, and it's good to go. So that's what we do. We don't do that with LexC, just because I trust Stefan in his security conscious ways. So I just utilize LexD as is. But Juju and Python, we bring in, and we pull in the spells as well. So we have a spells registry. We pull that into the Snap package. So it's all nice and contained, and it's just a single package you hand off to somebody, and it's good to go.
Do you find that support becomes easier when you know exactly what someone's running?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, like we log all versions of everything that we use within the Snap, and yeah, it just reduces maintenance burden and makes it real easy to fix bugs and to know when a bug was introduced and things like that. So.
I'm kind of curious, because when you mentioned that you've built Python, obviously I know why this happens, but the question is kind of orthogonal, maybe. So, in Debian and Ubuntu, if you look at Python packaging of Python itself, it's just kind of a bunch of packages, and they have like a zillion little patches on top of them. So maybe you're shipping 3.5, but there's like 25 different Debian patches. Some of these patches are like adding Debian-specific stuff that you don't really care about in a Snap. But some of these patches maybe, like, I don't know, fix some security issue or like cherry-pick something from a future release that improves Python in some way. Have you looked at patching? I think there's a part for Python from source. Have you looked at providing some patches for that so that it's closer to the Deb experience in terms of like extra QA, extra fixes, extra security fixes in particular?
No, that's a good idea. Resource-wise, if we had the manpower to do that, yeah, we would definitely try to stick to the Debian way as closely as possible. Yeah, I mean, that's something that we should consider doing.
I think it's a very fresh idea. I mean, the classic confinement snaps are new, many people are trying them out, and I believe the good thing is it's because it's a part with like shared effort. So if someone contributes like one bug fix for some security issue or any kind of issue, all it takes is to rebuild your snaps, and they're already going to use that.
Yeah, I would like to see the whole part system kind of built out, more user friendly rather than like a wiki page that makes it searchable and things like that.
Wouldn't we all?
Yeah. Because I would prefer using parts for everything that I could if I didn't have to do it myself. Because parts with like Juju, we use a Juju part, so we can set our source tag for different revisions of Juju. So parts are just they're really nice. But yeah, a more little user friendliness with those would be nice.
It would be great if they are pre-compiled, so you don't have to fill them yourself every time.
I wish we had Sergio here, but I bet there's like all of these ideas are in his head, and I bet there's some of those are like coming down to these, or a couple of way. But especially
these are infrastructure related. We're still kind of an early project as far as that goes. That stuff.
Totally. Yeah, I totally understand. And I always run Snapcraft from Git master anyway, so.
Testing the hard way.
Well, soon you will be able to run Snapcraft from the Edge Snap.
Yeah, that would be nice too.
Oh, I'm looking forward to this one a lot because Snapd is getting better and better. We have some more manpower working on that. So Simon that has done a fantastic job of grabbing the problem and just going with it. So we're gonna see Snapd in Fedora really quick, probably on Monday, because we said we're not gonna release on a Friday. It's always a terrible idea. So I would love to see people build snaps on other OSs. It's just like, it's so meta. You can build it here, but anyone can install it. You can build it anywhere because it's a snap.
Well, and to be clear, I think you can install Snapcraft from Edge now, right? It's just not perfect.
You can do it now, but it's not announced because we haven't tested everything. So if you want to take the risk and help us,
True Edge.
Yeah. So this version is like the first pre-release, and then in a couple of weeks, yeah, we will push it to stable and different channels, and it will be just awesome. So
Is it the classic
I want,
confinement snap, or is it a normal snap?
No, it's classic.
Okay.
I mean, otherwise, like no pulling or no build packages, no, and there's, which actually I guess makes it a little problematic for other distros, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I heard stories about ideas of just like putting it in a container and like having Snapcraft outside, but building in a container so that you could essentially build on anything, targeting anything with any kind of sources.
Yeah, that is still on the roadmap, by the way.
Good, good.
we will get there. So I want to share my screen a little more, a couple of minutes. Let me hide this myself. Okay, last week I mentioned that LexD changed my life, and this is why, because the other machine will stay there building conjure-up for a long while, and we have to do this for every stable release. So while I wait, I can do the same, but with Jackety. So I launched a Jackety container. This one is called Verified Dolphin, and I do the same exec bash on this container. I do update, and now I can test some other things with Jackety while I'm waiting for the Xenial machine to finish. In particular, what I would like to do here is to test the conjure-up snap. So Stefan mentioned that in order to run snaps inside a Lexi container, we had to install Squash Fuse. Again, if you get lost, don't worry, because this is all documented on Stefan's blog, and you can go to the previous video. So I should be able to do now this: snap install conjure-up Edge Classic instead of building it myself, and it will get me what Adam was working yesterday. I can try to follow the steps to enable nested containers in here. And
yeah, public cloud credentials, you could probably run that. The nested stuff is just for LexD within LexD deployments.
Right, but I want to run conjure-up in this LexD to deploy Kubernetes on this LexD with multiple LexD in here, right? And well, actually, Stefan showed us a lot of nesting weirdness, so there's a lot of fun things to try here to see when it crashes, like install Kubernetes on Lexi and then get into that Kubernetes machines and do something to build conjure-up in there and install conjure-up in some of those machines and keep the loop. But it's almost done. Let me. Okay, it downloaded core, which is a big snap. Conjure-up is, oh no, it's big too.
Another big one.
Yeah.
I won't be able to show it. Yeah, this is where I stop the demo and just go and eat something and
how's
come back later.
the one that's building going? Is it still going?
The other one, I stopped it because I needed the bandwidth to do this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's live. But, well, it's almost done. It was really, really simple. We will write down the steps. And as I mentioned, we are on active development of Snapcraft, and we want to land it on Monday. So if you want to help, join us in rocket.ubuntu.com. Because we will appreciate a lot, many more hands, and you can learn about all these interesting tools, building interesting new free software projects like conjure-up. Okay, we are closing now. This is an hour of talking already. Do you want to say something else before we go, Alan?
No, thanks for having me on. And if anybody has questions, concerns, or wants to help out, you know where to find me on IRC, Rocket Chat. Just hit me up, and we can go from there.
Cool. Any closing words from the Snappy team?
Well, yeah, no, thanks a lot for joining us, Adam. Very interesting. Love to see the project. And yeah, you know, if anyone wants to contribute or play with it, again, that's conjureup.io.
And thanks a lot for your help on classic snaps, classic Python snaps, because that
you were one of the first.
Good. Good.
You had the honor of.
It settled down. I mean, honestly, snaps are simple and just it's a lot better experience than building the original ways we were doing it. So.
All right. So thanks, Adam. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Kyle. Thanks, Siga. And for next week, we will have a special testing day about documentation. So contributing to documentation, testing documentation, making documentation. And we need also to automate the things that the documentation explains. So a lot of different things to discuss in there. It will be a full Friday of documentation.
We'll have Poppy here, right?
I hope, because it was his idea. So I hope he will be with us.
Fun time. Come and join us.
So see you next week. Bye.
See you next week, everyone. Goodbye.